This lady, Lu, advises you to be good and obediently let us capture you, and you can suffer less torture. Lu is also a cultivator and doesn't want to embarrass a woman. In the battlefield below, one of the older men attacked the other side, shouting loudly, as if trying to persuade the woman to give up resistance. And another man who looked a little younger coldly snorted, "Why, brother Lu is talking nonsense with her. This woman looks good. After we capture her alive, we can enjoy her, and then make her spirit unable to survive without asking for death." Although the martial artist of Brilliant Fire sect cultivate the fire attribute cultivation technique, they had a secret technique that could use the ice attribute Saint Yuan of the Ice Heart Valley disciples to break through, raising the realm of cultivation in a very short time. The two major sects have been against each other for countless years. Many female disciples in Ice Heart Valley have disappeared bizarrely, and they were basically taken away by Brilliant Fire sect's people. The fate of those female disciples can be imagined. Although this kind of secret technique is also dangerous to the people of Brilliant Fire sect, many disciples of Brilliant Fire sect are not afraid but rush to it, taking pride in torturing and picking up the female disciples of Ice Heart Valley. Brilliant Fire sect executives have always ignored it. Two Brilliant Fire sect people sang Red Cheeks and the other Black Cheeks, which greatly shook the woman's mind. Despicable, shame, homeless. The woman gritted her teeth and screamed, her Saint Yuan surging, countless white, as jade, bird-shaped formed by the convergence of ice attribute energy, flew out in all directions, in an attempt to interfere with the side of the two. Want to run? The younger Brilliant Fire sect disciple looked awkward, and the fire element Saint Yuan was surging. It made him look like a burning ball of fire, indifferent, and ran into those flying birds. The ice disintegrated, and the flames were overwhelming. The man surnamed Lu took advantage of the situation and threw a punch in the gap between those flying birds. A huge flaming tiger phantom suddenly appeared. The tiger's roar shook the sky, opened its mouth wide and threw its mouth at the woman. The woman was flanked by the left and right, and looked stretched. Although she tried all means to resolve the crisis, she was still hit by the flame tiger on her shoulder. A half-foot-long scar was exposed. Blood gushes out. They staggered, and after they stabilized their bodies, the two of Brilliant Fire sect had already rushed toward her with grim expressions. The woman looked desperate, and her beautiful eyes couldn't help but nostalgia for life. But this bit of nostalgia was quickly shattered. Then it turned into a will to die. She knows. If she really fell into the hands of Brilliant Fire sect's people, it would be worse than death. Therefore, when the female disciples of Ice Heart Valley go out, the elders will tell them, "It's better to die than to be captured." Every female disciple in Ice Heart Valley remembered this sentence. Not good, this lowly maid wants to die. The younger Brilliant Fire sect disciple was shocked. He had fought with many people from Ice Heart Valley and had seen this scene before him. He naturally knew what the other party wanted to do. It's not that easy to want to die. The man surnamed Lu smiled slyly, stretched out his hand and tossed. A flaming rope-like artifact suddenly shot out, tying up the woman as if it were spiritual. Immediately he pulled the rope back, and the woman was immediately tightened. The ups and downs of Saint Yuan's fluctuations suddenly subsided, and the woman stood still, her beautiful eyes filled with panic. Haha, this fire rope was specially made by the item refining great master for your people from Ice Heart Valley. If you were bound by the fire rope, you wouldn't be able to exploit the Saint Yuan. The man surnamed Lu had already succeeded and was too lazy to pretend to be the same as before, glanced at the woman evilly, and a wicked expression appeared on his face. Kill me. The woman struggled, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't urge Saint Yuan. The rope tied to her body seemed to have the power to restrain her Saint Yuan. The other party didn't say anything wrong. This artifact was indeed created specifically for the disciples of Ice Heart Valley. She was tied up by a rope, and she couldn't move Saint Yuan at all. How can I be willing to kill you? The man surnamed Lu gave a wicked smile. It is not easy to catch a person from Ice Heart Valley, and you are so beautiful, so Lu is not in a hurry and he loves you. The woman's face was pale, and she could almost foresee how miserable her fate would be in the future. Do you want to bite your tongue and commit suicide? Do you think too much? The younger man snorted coldly, reached out his hand, and a Saint Yuan penetrated into the woman's body, making her instantly stiff in place, unable to even speak. Let's leave here first. The man surnamed Lu glanced at the battlefield dozens of miles away, and didn't mean to go to help. For him, catching an enemy alive is enough. Junior brother is with you. The other man smiled with a deep smile. Naturally, the role of the younger brother is indispensable. The man surnamed Lu understood his heart and stepped forward. He wanted to hug the subdued woman. But he had just taken 3 steps, and there was a change of scenery in front of him. A ghostly figure appeared in front of him, standing between him and the woman. The man surnamed Lu was taken aback. He instinctively jumped a few feet back, looked at the incoming person vigilantly, and said in a low voice, "Who is this, friend?" The other party did not speak, but just stared at him coldly. The icy cold in his eyes was almost condensed into substance, which made him somewhat unable to resist even after cultivating fire attribute cultivation technique, and a coldness appeared all over his body. Brother. The younger warrior also found that something was wrong. The young man who appeared suddenly looked at them with an unkind look, with murderous intent in his eyes, obviously not their own people. The man surnamed Lu frowned, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he exclaimed, "It's you." He clearly recognized the identity of the person here. After the words fell, he did not hesitate to turn into a flame to escape into the distance. The other person was stunned for a moment, and didn't dare to stay in place anymore, and also turned into a flame, wanting to escape from the place. The person who came is not good, and the cultivation level has reached the void return stage. They can't compete at all. Although they don't want to give up the woman who is about to be captured, their life is still the most important compared with that woman. Moreover, both of them have recognized that the person they have been looking for is the guy who came. The most important task now is to report the findings here as soon as possible. The two are so fast that they have run hundreds of feet in the blink of an eye. The youth didn't seem to care, until their silhouettes were about to disappear from the field of vision. He stretched out his hands unhurriedly and snapped his fingers twice. There seemed to be a sharp breaking sound. 2 rapid screams sounded at a very far place, and the 2 disciples of Brilliant Fire Sect who had escaped stopped like being struck by lightning, and then fell. The subdued woman was stunned, her beautiful eyes staring at the back of the man in front of her. She felt that the back was as wide as a river and majestic as a mountain, and she was full of gratitude in her heart. She also didn't expect that at this critical time, there would be a strong person to help herself. There are no male disciples in Ice Heart Valley, but she don't know if the person in front of him is a member of the sect under Ice Heart Valley. She wanted to open her mouth to say thanks, but was sealed by the previous disciple of Brilliant Fire Sect, and she could only sit and not a word. But, why does this person's back look familiar? She always feel like she have seen it somewhere. The woman was puzzled. After killing the 2 Brilliant Fire Sect people, the murderous intent on the man in front quickly dissipated, turned around, and looked at the woman with complicated eyes. Looking at each other, her beautiful eyes trembled violently, as if she had been subjected to petrification secret technique, frozen in place, looking at the face of the person who suddenly appeared and saved her. She could hardly believe her eyes. Xianxia sighed, "Senior Xianxia, I haven't seen you for many years." As she spoke, he stretched out his hand and swept away, cut off the rope artifact that bound her. Without the shackles of the artifact, Xianxia just turned the Saint Yuan a little, and then conflicted with the seal in her body, but she still looked ahead. That person could not say a word of shock. She didn't expect that it would be Xianxia who came to save her. This Xianxia, who she has never seen his face in the last few years, has disturbed the entire Scarlet Billow Star situation. And his current strength, she can't see through it, which means that the other party cultivation level is at least a big realm higher than her. Only with such a huge gap can she fail to see his true cultivation level. How did he grow so fast? Xianxia thought that Su Yan's growth was scary enough. After all, they left together from Tongshuan continent. At that time, Su Yan's cultivation was not as good as hers, but after entering the star territory, Su Yan cultivated to the void return stage at an amazing speed. Yang Kai seemed to be higher than Su Yan's cultivation level. Where has he all these years? How does he cultivate? Xianxia's thinking was chaotic. After a long time, she gradually slowed down and said uncertainly, Yang Kai? Is it really you? It's me. Yang Kai nodded gently. He also didn't expect that he would encounter the former Ice Lord Xianxia on Scarlet Billow Star. At the moment when they saw each other, Yang Kai almost thought he was dreaming. Xianxia and Su Yan are together. Xianxia is here, so what about Su Yan? Is she here too? Yang Kai's mind was turbulent, and he could hardly suppress the expectations deep in his heart. Senior Xianxia, Su Yan. Yang Kai took a deep breath and asked. His voice was dry. He was afraid he would hear a disappointing answer. Su Yan is fine, don't worry. Xianxia's answer made the huge boulder on Yang Kai's heart to be lifted. It's been more than 30 years. It's been more than 30 years since the last time they separate. This kind of parting is different from Sha Ningchang's separation. Although Yang Kai has not seen Sha Ningchang for many years, he knows that she is in Tongxuan continent waiting for him there. Su Yan was different. For so many years, Yang Kai didn't know where she was, how she was living, or whether she was safe. This kind of worry is far more tormenting than missing each other. Xianxia's words made him laugh. His smile is full of relief. Are you really together? Yang Kai asked again. Where is she now? She is not here now. She is in Ice Heart Valley. Ice Heart Valley? Did you join Ice Heart Valley? Yang Kai was stunned. To be continued.